Hi everybody, in this video we're gonna cover section 1.5. Section 1.5 is solving equations, so I'm gonna break it up into quite a few videos because we're gonna be solving linear equations. So remember, linear equations have the form y equals mx plus b. So what you might see is something like mx plus b equals 0, for example. So we'll solve that. Quadratic equations. The standard form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, but we may see them in very different forms. Absolute value equations. And these are solving things like the absolute value of mx plus b equals something, usually a positive number, because absolute value can't be negative. So we're just going to say here some c, a positive number. Remember when we talked about absolute value, the absolute value represents a distance, so distance can be negative. So if somehow you had the absolute value by itself equaling a negative number, that would be no solution because you can't get the absolute value to be negative. And the last thing is rational. Well, we have rational equations and also radical equations. So rational equations will be something like 1 over x minus 1 plus 2 over x plus 1 equals 7, and you're asked to solve. And then radical equations. So this will be if you have something like the square root of 2x minus 7 equals the square root of x plus 1, and then solve for x. So these are the types of things that we'll be covering in this section. So let me start with linear equations. So for linear equations, we're going to start with an example. So let's say I want to solve something like 3x plus 4 equals 7. And here, this as a review from your algebra class should hopefully be not too bad. So we're going to have 3x equals, subtract 4 from both sides, you get 3. Divide both sides by 3, and you get that x is equal to 1. And always check it. 3 times 1 plus 4, does that equal 7? And 3 plus 4 is equal to 7, so that is true. Our next example will be solve, let's say 2 times 1 minus x equals to 3 times 1 plus 2x plus 5. So now here we have a little bit more complex linear equation. Linear, why is this linear? Because the highest exponent on the x-axis is a 1. So here we've got to use our order of operations, so combine like terms if you can. In this case, since we cannot, we have to then do parentheses first, and in this case we want to multiply our constants in. So on the left we're going to have 2 minus 2x, on the right we're going to have 3 plus 6x. The parentheses ends here, so I don't need to multiply the 5 by the 3, so it's just plus 5. So now let's combine like terms. So I have 3 plus 5 is 8, so I have 8 plus 6x. And at this point, notice that I have x's on both sides, so I'm going to move the x's. So I'm going to move the negative one, so I'm going to say plus 2x. And I'm going to combine steps here, so I'm going to subtract the 8 from both sides as well. So I want to move the x's to one side and move the constants to the other side. So I'm going to have 2 minus 8, that's negative 6. And 6x plus 2x is 8x. And then to get the x all by itself, divide both sides by 8. So we're going to have x is equal to negative 6/8, and reduce that. You always want to leave your answer, especially if they're fractions, in reduced form. So 2 goes into both of those, so x will be equal to negative 3/4. And then you should check your answer as well, just as we did above. Plug it in and check it. I'll record a second video for quadratics.